The sky above New York City turned dark at noon. Not from clouds or eclipse, but from something much larger. A ship the size of Manhattan floated above the city, blocking out the sun. Its smooth metal surface reflected the city lights below like a giant mirror. Commander Jack Sullivan stood on the roof of the Earth Defense Force headquarters. He watched the alien ship through his binoculars. His hands were steady, but his mind raced. 20 years in the military had taught him to stay calm, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Commander Sullivan," a voice called from behind. Dr. Lisa Chen rushed through the roof door, her white coat flapping in the wind. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. They want to talk." Jack lowered his binoculars. "Do we know what they're saying?" "That's why I'm here," Lisa said. She was the best xenolinguist on Earth, hired by the government to study alien languages that didn't exist yet, until today. Their message is in perfect English, Chinese, Spanish, and 12 other Earth languages. "They say they come in peace," Jack almost laughed. "Ships that big don't scream peaceful intentions." Similar scenes played out across the world. Paris, London, Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo. Each major city had its own alien ship hovering above. The ships had appeared simultaneously, as if someone had flipped a switch. In the Earth Defense Force Command Center, General Maria Rodriguez coordinated the global response. Screens covered every wall, showing feeds from military bases worldwide. Her officers worked at their stations, voices overlapping as they reported in. "General, the ships aren't responding to any of our hails except the broadcast," an officer reported. "What about weapon systems?" Maria asked. "Nothing we can detect. No heat signatures, no radiation, no electromagnetic activity beyond their broadcast." Maria frowned. Peaceful visitors didn't usually arrive in force. "Keep all defensive systems on standby. If they twitch wrong, I want to know about it." 3 hours after the ships arrived, a smaller craft descended from the New York ship. It landed in Central Park, crushing trees and benches under its weight. The military had already evacuated the area, creating a perimeter of tanks and soldiers. Jack Sullivan stood at the front of the welcoming committee, if that's what they were calling it. Lisa Chen stood beside him, tablet in hand, ready to analyze any new language data. Behind them, a row of government officials waited nervously. The ship's door opened with a hiss. No ramp extended. Instead, a figure simply floated down to the ground. The alien stood 8 feet tall, covered in scales that shifted color like oil on water. Its eyes were large and black, taking up half its face. When it spoke, its mouth revealed 3 rows of sharp teeth. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. Its voice sounded like grinding glass. "I am Ambassador Crixtall of the Galactic Council. We have watched your species with great interest." Jack stepped forward. "Commander Jack Sullivan, Earth Defense Force, why are you here?" Crixtall's scales shifted to a green shade. Later, Lisa would explain this meant amusement. "Direct. We appreciate this quality in your species. We are here to offer Earth membership in the Galactic Council. You will gain access to technology beyond your imagination, medical advances to cure all disease, energy sources that will end your dependence on fossil fuels, transportation that will take you to the stars." It sounded too good to be true. Jack had learned long ago that when something sounded too good to be true, it usually was. "And what does the Council want in return?" Jack asked. "Participation," Crixtall said simply. "The Council is a community of 800 worlds. Each contributes according to their abilities. Each receives according to their needs." Over the following days, more aliens arrived. They set up embassy buildings overnight, structures that seemed to grow from the ground like plants. Council representatives met with world leaders, always promising the same things: technology, medicine, knowledge. Lisa Chen spent 18 hours a day studying their language and behavior. She noticed things others missed. The way Crixtall's scales turned a specific shade of blue when discussing Earth's resources. How the other Council species always deferred to certain individuals, suggesting a strict hierarchy despite talks of equality. "There's something they're not telling us," Lisa told Jack during one of their late-night briefings. "I know," Jack said, "but half the world's ready to sign up just for their medical technology. President Harrison is under pressure to accept their offer." The breakthrough came during a private meeting. Crixtall had requested to speak with Earth's military and scientific leaders away from the media. They gathered in a secure conference room deep underground. "Now that we may speak freely," Crixtall began, "let us discuss the reality of Council membership. General Rodriguez leaned forward. Reality. Earth has been designated as a Class 7 resource world, Crixtal explained, as if this meant something to the humans. Your planet's mineral wealth and water supplies are needed for Council operations. Your species shows remarkable adaptability and endurance, perfect for labor in various environments. The room went cold. Jack felt his hand move toward his sidearm. Labor? Lisa asked carefully. The Council operates on efficient resource allocation, Crixtal continued, seemingly unaware of the tension. Humans will be relocated across Council space to work in mining operations, agricultural worlds, and manufacturing centers. Earth itself will be carefully harvested for its resources. Do not worry, we are not cruel. Workers are well fed and housed. Families are kept together when possible. You're talking about slavery, General Rodriguez said flatly. Crixtal's scales shifted to purple. Such a primitive term. You will be valued members of the Council, contributing to the greater good. In return, your species will survive. Many who refuse Council membership do not. Is that a threat? Jack asked. It is simply truth, Crixtal replied. You have 30 Earth days to prepare your population for integration. We recommend you emphasize the benefits. The transition is easier when workers are willing. After Crixtal left, the room exploded in arguments. Some wanted to fight immediately. Others thought negotiation was still possible. A few even suggested that serving the Council might be better than extinction. Jack found Lisa in her lab at 3 a.m, surrounded by alien texts the Council had provided as gifts. Can't sleep either? He asked. I'm finding patterns, Lisa said without looking up. Every species in the Council has a similar story. Peaceful first contact, promises of advancement, then integration. But Jack, look at this. She pulled up a holographic display. These are population records from Council worlds. See the pattern? Jack studied the data. Every species showed the same trend. Massive population decline after joining the Council, then stabilization at much lower numbers. They're farming civilizations, Lisa whispered. Growing them to the right size, then harvesting them. We need to tell the others, Jack said. Tell them what? That we're cattle? Lisa laughed bitterly. Half the world leaders are already writing speeches about humanity's glorious future among the stars. The Council's been playing this game for thousands of years. They know exactly how to handle primitive species like us. But Jack Sullivan had not survived 20 years of military service by giving up. Then we need to learn their game, he said, and find a way to change the rules. Outside, the alien ships continued to hover over Earth cities, silent and waiting. The countdown had begun. 30 days to save humanity from a fate worse than extinction, 30 days to find a way out of a trap that had caught 800 worlds before them. 30 days to prove that humans were more than just another resource to be harvested. The game had begun, and Earth didn't even know all the rules yet. Marcus Powell lived in his mother's basement, but he wasn't the stereotype people imagined. His 3 computer screens glowed in the darkness, displaying code that most programmers couldn't understand. At 25, he had already helped several Fortune 500 companies fix their security systems. They paid him well, but he stayed in the basement because he liked the quiet. When the alien ships arrived, Marcus did what he always did with new technology. He tried to hack it. This is impossible, he muttered, taking another sip of cold coffee. The Council had set up communication nodes across Earth, claiming they were for cultural exchange. Marcus had been trying to access one for 3 days straight. The alien code was unlike anything on Earth. It didn't use binary. It seemed to exist in multiple states at once, changing even as he observed it. But Marcus had noticed something. Every hour, at exactly 17 minutes past, the code stabilized for 30 seconds. He waited. When the moment came, his fingers flew across the keyboard. For 30 seconds, he pushed deeper into the system than ever before. Then the window closed, but not before he grabbed a chunk of data. Got you, he whispered. Across the city, Dr. Stephen Park examined the gift the Council had given to Earth's scientists. It was supposedly a power cell that could run a city for a year. The other scientists were amazed. Stephen was suspicious. Run the quantum scan again, he told his assistant, but sir, we've run it 12 times. The results are always the same. Stephen adjusted his glasses. Humor me. The scan revealed what it always did. The power cell was incredibly efficient, converting matter to energy at rates that violated several laws of physics. But Stephen had noticed something else. Hidden in the quantum structure were patterns that didn't belong in a power source. "It's not just a battery," Stephen said slowly. "It's a transmitter." His assistant looked confused. "Transmitting what?" "Everything," Stephen replied. "Every piece of council technology they've given us is connected. They're building a network and we're helping them do it." At Edwards Air Force Base, Captain Rita Johnson completed her pre-flight check. Her mission was simple: fly close to one of the alien ships and gather data. The council had given permission, even seemed amused by the request. "Remember, Captain," her commander's voice crackled through the radio. "Just observation. Don't do anything to provoke them." Rita's F-35 lifted off, climbing toward the massive ship hovering over Los Angeles. As she approached, her instruments went crazy. Not from interference, they were receiving too much data. Her flight recorder was capturing information faster than it should be able to. "Control, I'm getting strange readings," Rita reported. "Can you specify, Captain?" Rita checked her instruments again. "My systems are downloading something. It's like the ship is feeding my computer data. Return to base immediately." But Rita had noticed something else. Her radar showed structures on the ground that didn't exist. Ghost buildings that appeared for seconds, then vanished. As if she was seeing through time. "Control, I think," her radio cut out. Every system in her plane shut down simultaneously. Rita's training kicked in. She grabbed the manual controls, fighting to keep the plane in the air. For 30 seconds that felt like hours, she glided powerless. Then as suddenly as they'd failed, her systems came back online. She landed 20 minutes later, hands shaking. The flight recorder had captured something during those 30 seconds of system failure. Something the aliens hadn't meant for humans to see. That night, 4 strangers met in a secure location. Jack Sullivan had gathered them based on reports that had crossed his desk. Marcus Powell with his partial hack, Stephen Park with his discovery about the technology, Rita Johnson with her flight recorder data. Lisa Chen was there too to help translate what they found. "Show us what you got," Jack said. Marcus went first, projecting his stolen data on the wall. It was incomprehensible to most, but Lisa leaned forward. "This is a communication log, but it's old. Really old." "How old?" Jack asked. "The timestamps suggest—" Lisa paused, double-checking her translation. 3,000 years. "They've been watching Earth for 3,000 years. Stephen added his findings about the power cells. "If every piece of their technology is connected, they're not giving us gifts. They're building infrastructure." "For what?" Rita's flight recorder data provided the answer. During those 30 seconds of system failure, her cameras had captured images her eyes couldn't see. The ghost buildings were real, structures from past and future bleeding through time. "They're using quantum entanglement," Stephen breathed. "Not just to communicate, but to exist in multiple time streams simultaneously." Marcus had been typing while they talked. "I found something else in the code. Birth records, death records, genetic markers." He looked up, face pale. "They've been running a breeding program. Small changes over centuries, making humans more suitable." "Suitable for what?" Rita asked, though she suspected the answer. Lisa pulled up the population data she'd shown Jack earlier. "Manual labor. They've been optimizing us. Stronger backs, better endurance, faster healing. We're not just resources to them. We're products they've been developing." The room fell silent. The full scope of the Council's plan was becoming clear. Earth wasn't being invited to join a galactic community. It was harvest time for a crop 3,000 years in the making. Jack's phone buzzed. "General Rodriguez, we've got a problem. President Harrison wants to accept the Council's offer. He's going to announce it tomorrow." "He doesn't know what we know," Jack protested. "Even if he did, would it matter? Half the world sees this as our only chance for survival. The other half is too scared to fight." After the call, the group continued working. Marcus dove deeper into the alien network, using the patterns he'd found. Stephen analyzed more Council technology, finding the same hidden transmitters in everything. Rita reviewed her flight data, looking for more clues. At 4 a.m, Marcus shouted, "I'm in!" "I'm actually in their network." The others crowded around his screen. Alien text scrolled past, but Lisa translated in real time. "Harvest protocol initiated. Phase 7 implementation. Species 4,871 ready for integration. Loss projections acceptable. Resistance probability calculated at 0.03%. "We're species 4,871, Lisa said quietly, "and they think we have a 0.03% chance of resisting." Marcus kept digging. He found ship deployments, resource allocations, and then something that made them all freeze. A list of previous species that had resisted, all marked with the same notation: terminated. They destroy entire civilizations that fight back, Stephen said. No, Lisa corrected, reading more carefully. They destroy civilizations that fight back unsuccessfully. Look here. Species 3026, they found a way to disconnect from the network. The council couldn't touch them after that. What happened to them? Rita asked. Lisa's face was grim. Unknown. Once they disconnected, the council lost all data on them. They just vanished from the records. Jack stood up. Then that's our answer. We don't fight them. We cut them off. Cut off a civilization that's mastered space travel and time manipulation? Stephen laughed bitterly. How? You said it yourself, Jack replied. Everything they've given us is connected. Their whole system runs on that quantum network. What happens if we sever the connection? Marcus was already working. Theoretically, their technology stops working. Ships, weapons, communications, it all runs through the network. But we'd lose their technology too, Stephen pointed out. Better than losing our freedom, Jack said. Over the next week, they worked in secret. Marcus mapped the quantum network, finding every node and connection. Stephen developed theories on how to disrupt quantum entanglement. Rita led reconnaissance missions, gathering intelligence on council positions. Lisa made the crucial discovery. Hidden in the oldest part of the communication log, she found references to something called the severing, a protocol the council feared above all others. It's only happened once before, she explained. Species 2411. They found a way to cut their entire planet off from the network. The council sent a fleet to stop them, but without the network, their ships couldn't function in that solar system. What did this species do? How did they create the severing? Jack asked. Lisa shook her head. The records don't say. The council destroyed all information about the method. They're terrified it could happen again. President Harrison made his announcement. Earth would join the Galactic Council. Integration would begin in 20 days. Across the world, some celebrated while others protested. Most simply waited, unsure what the future held. But in a basement laboratory, a small group of humans prepared for something else entirely. They had discovered the truth about the council. They had found evidence of successful resistance. Now they had to figure out how to duplicate a miracle that had only happened once in galactic history. 20 days to solve a puzzle that an advanced alien civilization had spent centuries ensuring could never be solved again. 20 days to find the severing. The countdown continued, but now Earth had something the Council's calculations hadn't included. Hope and the human talent for achieving the impossible. Dr. Alex Turner hadn't slept in 48 hours. Empty coffee cups covered his desk and equations filled every whiteboard in his lab. The quantum physicist had been pulled from his university position to work on humanity's most important project. Project Scissors, they called it. Cut the connection. Save the world, it's not possible, Alex said for the 100th time, but he kept working anyway. His team included the best minds on Earth. They had 12 days left before the Council began forced integration. 12 days to understand technology that was thousands of years ahead of human science. Run the simulation again, Alex ordered. The computer model showed Earth's quantum field interacting with the Council's network. Every time they tried to sever the connection in simulation, the same thing happened. Catastrophic failure. The quantum backlash would tear atoms apart. Maybe we're approaching this wrong, suggested Dr. Emma Ross, the team's communications specialist. We're thinking like humans. What if we think like them? Emma had been studying the Council's communication patterns. Not just their language, but how their technology talked to itself. She'd noticed something odd. The network had safeguards against external attacks but seemed vulnerable from within. You mean infect their network? Alex asked. Not infect, convince. Emma pulled up her data. Their network is sentient in a way. It makes decisions. What if we could make it decide to let Earth go? Across the globe, Colonel Sam Davis prepared his teams. If the scientists succeeded in creating the severing, they would need to activate it simultaneously at every council node on Earth. 137 locations, all heavily monitored by alien technology. Remember, we get one shot, Sam told his soldiers during briefing. The moment we move, they'll know something's wrong. His teams trained in secret using abandoned buildings to simulate council installations. They practiced until every movement was perfect. Speed would be everything. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Marcus Powell, still hacking the alien network, found fragments of code from species 2004 and 11, the ones who had achieved the severing before. It's not much, Marcus told the team. But look at this pattern. They didn't fight the network. They made it forget them. Alex stared at the code fragment. Suddenly the impossible seemed merely improbable. Quantum amnesia. They erased themselves from the network's memory. But how do you make a quantum network forget an entire planet? Emma asked. You don't, Alex said, his mind racing. You make it forget it ever connected to the planet in the first place. You convince it the connection never existed. The plan that emerged was insane. It required perfect timing, absolute precision, and technology Earth barely understood. But it was their only chance. They would need three things. First, a quantum virus that could spread through the network faster than light. Second, an electromagnetic pulse specifically calibrated to council frequencies. Third, simultaneous physical destruction of every network node on Earth. The virus makes the network question the connection, Alex explained to the assembled team leaders. The EMP disrupts it at the moment of doubt. The physical destruction ensures it can't reconnect. What about their ships? General Rodriguez asked. They'll still be in orbit. Without the network, their ships are just metal, Stephen Park said. No power, no weapons, no life support. They'll have to retreat or die. President Harrison officially opposed the plan, but unofficially, he made sure the team had everything they needed. Other world leaders did the same, publicly supporting the council while secretly preparing for war. 7 days before integration, they were ready. The quantum virus was complete, a beautiful piece of code that Marcus called his masterpiece. The EMP generators were in place, hidden in major cities. Colonel Davis's teams were positioned. We go in 6 days, Jack Sullivan announced. 1 day before they expect to begin integration. But the council wasn't stupid. Ambassador Crixtall requested another meeting. This time he brought friends. 6 other alien species, all high-ranking council members. We are aware of increased military activity, Crixtall said, his scales shifting to deep red. This concerns us. Training exercises, General Rodriguez lied smoothly. We want our people ready to serve the council effectively. Admirable, said another alien, this one resembling a giant spider made of crystal. However, we must insist on transparency. We will be placing observers at all military installations. It was a trap. If Earth refused, the council would know they were planning something. If they agreed, the observers would discover Project Scissors. Jack made a decision that would haunt him. Of course, we have nothing to hide. The observers arrived within hours, but Colonel Davis had prepared for this possibility. His teams created elaborate deceptions, fake training exercises that kept the observers busy, while the real preparations continued underground. 3 days before integration, disaster struck. One of the observers at a London facility detected quantum anomalies. Within minutes, Crixtall was demanding answers. You are experimenting with quantum manipulation, he accused. This is forbidden for probationary species. Lisa Chen saved them with a brilliant lie. We're trying to understand your technology better, to be more useful to the council. Our scientists got enthusiastic. Crixtall studied her for long moments. Enthusiasm is acceptable. Rebellion is not. We will be watching more closely. The final days were tense. Council supervision increased. Several team members were caught and detained. But the core plan remained secret. Emma Ross worked 18-hour days fine-tuning the virus. Alex Turner ran simulation after simulation. Marcus Powell stayed connected to the network, ready to upload their weapon. 1 day before integration, Earth held its breath. At 3:00 a.m. GMT, the order came. Execute Project Scissors. Around the world, 137 teams moved simultaneously. They infiltrated council facilities using codes Marcus had stolen. They planted charges on quantum nodes. They activated hidden EMP generators. In his basement, Marcus uploaded the virus. It spread through the quantum network at impossible speeds, reaching every connection in nanoseconds. The network began to question. Why was it connected to this primitive planet? Had it always been connected? The data seemed wrong somehow. Virus propagation complete, Marcus reported. The network is confused. EMP generators charging, Emma announced. 90 seconds to activation. Colonel Davis watched his teams through satellite feeds. Most had succeeded. A few had been discovered fighting desperate battles against Council security. But enough nodes were rigged. It would work. It had to work. 30 seconds, Emma said. In orbit, the Council ship suddenly came alive. Kriegstahl had realized what was happening. Weapons powered up. Smaller craft launched, racing toward Earth's surface. "They're moving," someone shouted. "They know." "Too late," Alex said quietly. 10 seconds. The countdown seemed to last forever. Around the world, humans who knew the plan held their breath. Those who didn't continued their lives, unaware that everything was about to change. 3, 2, 1. Execute. 3 things happened simultaneously. The quantum virus reached critical mass, convincing the network that Earth didn't exist in its system. The EMP pulse fired, disrupting every quantum connection on the planet. The charges detonated, physically destroying the nodes. For a moment, nothing seemed to change. Then the lights went out. Not electrical lights, those still worked. But every piece of Council technology on Earth suddenly went dark. Holographic displays vanished. Floating platforms crashed to the ground. Energy weapons became useless metal. In orbit, the massive ships flickered. Their engines died. Their weapons powered down. Life support systems failed. The smaller craft racing to Earth tumbled out of control, crashing into oceans and empty fields. "It worked," Alex breathed. It actually worked. But the real test was yet to come. On the Council command ship, Kriegstahl stood in darkness. Emergency power kicked in, just enough for basic systems. He tried to contact the homeworld, nothing. Tried to access the quantum network, nothing. Earth had vanished from their connected universe. "How?" he asked the darkness. On Earth, celebrations were short-lived. The Council representatives were still planetside, trapped without their technology. Some surrendered. Others tried to fight with physical weapons. But without their advantages, they were outnumbered billions to 1. The severing was complete. Earth had cut itself off from the galactic network. The planet stood alone but free. The impossible had been achieved through human ingenuity, determination, and the willingness to risk everything for freedom. But this was not the end. In space, damaged Council ships drifted. They would eventually repair their systems. But without the quantum network, they would have to travel home the slow way. Years, perhaps decades. When they finally arrived, they would report something unprecedented. A primitive species had achieved the severing. Earth had done what only one other civilization had managed in the Council's long history. The galaxy would never be the same. And humanity's real journey was just beginning. Admiral Karen White stood on the bridge of humanity's first warship, looking at the stars. The EDS Defiance wasn't pretty. It was cobbled together from salvaged Council technology and human engineering. But it could fly, and more importantly, it could fight. 2 years had passed since the severing. 2 years of frantic preparation for the inevitable Council response. Earth knew they would come. The only question was when. "Admiral, long-range sensors are picking up something," her officer reported. Karen's stomach tightened. They had detected gravity distortions 3 light-years out. Ships, lots of them, moving at sub-light speed but still faster than anything Earth had before the severing. "How long until they reach us?" Karen asked. "At their current speed, 13 months. 13 months to ready a defense against a civilization that had conquered 800 worlds." Karen activated the global communication system. "This is Admiral White to Earth Command. The punishment fleet is coming. Operation Fortress begins now." Dr. Paul Martinez had spent 2 years taking apart every piece of dead Council technology on Earth. The alien devices were incredibly advanced, but without the quantum network, they were just sophisticated machinery that could be understood, reverse-engineered, and improved. The key was understanding they built everything to work together, Paul explained to his team. Once isolated, each piece has vulnerabilities. His greatest discovery had been in the Council's neural interface technology. The aliens used quantum entanglement to connect their minds to their machines. But humans, Paul discovered, didn't need quantum connections. The human brain could interface directly. "It's like we were built for this," Paul said, still not quite believing it. "Our neural pathways are naturally compatible with their technology, but in a completely different way." He demonstrated by placing his hand on a deactivated Council fighter craft. The ship hummed to life, responding to his thoughts. No quantum network needed, just human willpower and creativity. How is this possible? His assistant asked. Paul had a theory. Remember, they bred us for 3,000 years. They were trying to make better workers, but maybe they made something else. Maybe they accidentally created the one species that could use their technology without being controlled by it. Captain Joe Baker was one of the first pilots to master the new hybrid fighters. Part council technology, part human engineering, all controlled by human minds. The ships responded to thought, turning human creativity and instinct into reality. It's like flying with your imagination, Joe told the new recruits. Think about what you want to do and the ship does it. The training was intense. Not everyone could handle the neural interface. Those who could became Earth's first space force. They practiced day and night learning to fight in 3 dimensions, to think in ways humans had never needed to before. Meanwhile, the orbital defense platforms grew. Massive structures built from salvaged council ships, each one bristling with weapons. Earth's moon became a fortress, its surface covered with defensive installations. Mars, barely colonized before the severing, became a forward base. But Admiral White knew it wouldn't be enough. The Council had been conquering worlds for millennia. Earth had been a spacefaring civilization for less than 3 years. We need an edge, she told the Strategy Council. Something they won't expect. The edge came from captured Council prisoners. Most refused to talk, but a few, abandoned by their empire, began to cooperate. They revealed crucial intelligence about Council tactics and, more importantly, their psychology. The Council always fights the same way, explained Vex High, a former Council military advisor, who had chosen cooperation over starvation. Overwhelming force. Quantum coordination. Synchronized attacks. They have not faced real opposition in centuries. What about species 2411? Karen asked. The ones who achieved the severing before us. Vex High's expression was unreadable. They were different. After the severing, they did not wait for retaliation. They vanished. Some say they found another dimension. Others believe they transcended physical existence. The Council searched for centuries but never found them. This gave Earth's leaders an idea. What if humanity didn't fight like the Council expected? What if they fought like humans? 8 months before the fleet's arrival, long-range scouts reported more details. 500 ships, each one larger than anything Earth had built. Even without the quantum network, their sublight engines and conventional weapons would be devastating. But the scouts also reported something else. The fleet was struggling. Without instant communication, coordination was difficult. Without quantum navigation, they had to plot courses manually. The Council's greatest strength had become a weakness. Dr. Nancy Kim made the next breakthrough. Working from Paul Martinez's discoveries about human neural compatibility, she developed something revolutionary. A faster-than-light drive that worked on completely different principles than the Council's quantum engines. It's not pretty, Nancy admitted, showing the prototype. And it only works because human brains can process the calculations in ways computers can't. But it works. The test flight lasted 30 seconds and covered the distance to Mars. The pilot, Captain Baker, emerged grinning despite a nosebleed. That was incredible. I could see the fabric of space. I could feel how to fold it. Earth now had faster-than-light travel. Crude, dangerous, and completely dependent on human pilots, but functional. The Council fleet traveling at sublight speeds suddenly seemed less terrifying. 3 months before the fleet's arrival, Earth launched Operation Deep Strike. 50 of the new FTL fighters, each piloted by humans who could interface directly with the technology, jumped behind enemy lines. The Council fleet never saw them coming. The fighters appeared from nowhere, struck at supply ships and communication vessels, then vanished. The Council had never faced an enemy that could move faster than light without the quantum network. They're panicking, reported Captain Baker after his 5th raid. They don't know how to respond to hit-and-run tactics. They keep trying to form defensive formations, but we're already gone. The punishment fleet Admiral Corval had expected an easy victory. Earth was a primitive world that had somehow achieved the severing, nothing more. He would make an example of them, then return home to report the anomaly resolved. He had not expected to lose 30 ships before even reaching Earth's solar system. He had not expected the humans to have FTL technology. He had definitely not expected them to fight like savages, attacking from nowhere and fleeing before retaliation. How are they doing this without the network? Corval demanded. His science officer had no answer. Council doctrine said FTL travel without quantum entanglement was impossible, yet the humans were doing it. Worse, intercepted communications suggested they were enjoying it. The human pilot spoke of riding the wave and surfing space-time. Madness. When the fleet finally reached Earth's solar system, they found it transformed. Defense platforms orbited every planet. Minefields of surprising sophistication filled the spaces between. And the human fleet, small as it was, moved with a coordination that shouldn't be possible without the network. The first battle lasted 18 hours. The Council fleet's superior firepower told initially. 3 defense platforms fell. Dozens of human ships were destroyed. But for every human loss, the Council paid heavily. The humans fought with a ferocity and unpredictability that Council training had never prepared them for. And worse, the humans learned. Each wave of attacks was different. They identified weaknesses and exploited them. They used tactics that seemed insane but worked. One human pilot flew his damaged fighter into a Council battleship's engine, destroying both. Others used Earth's gravity well to slingshot projectiles at impossible speeds. Admiral Koraval watched his certain victory turn into a bloody stalemate. Half his fleet was damaged or destroyed. The humans had paid a heavy price, but they kept coming. Worse, intelligence reported more human ships launching from Earth. How were they building them so fast? The answer horrified him when he learned it. The humans weren't just using salvaged Council technology. They were improving it. Their ships were ugly combinations of alien and human engineering, but they worked, and each generation was better than the last. The revelation that broke the Council fleet's morale came from a captured human pilot. Under interrogation, she revealed the truth about human neural compatibility. "We don't need your network," she said, blood running from her nose but still defiant. "We never did. Your technology responds to us better than it ever did to you. You spent 3,000 years breeding the perfect workers. Congratulations, you succeeded. You created the species that would replace you." Admiral Koraval ordered a retreat. For the first time in Council history, a punishment fleet fled from a primitive world. But as they ran, Koraval sent a message back to the homeworld. "Earth is not what we thought. The humans are not what we thought. They have become something new, something dangerous. They must be studied, not destroyed. If we are not careful, they will spread across the galaxy like a virus, teaching other species their madness. The old order is ending. The humans have ensured that." On Earth, victory celebrations were muted. They had won, but at great cost. Thousands had died. Cities lay in ruins from orbital bombardment that got through the defenses. But they had won. And more importantly, they had learned. The Council could be beaten. President Charles Mason looked at the stars from the window of Earth's first orbital embassy. 5 years had passed since the Council fleet retreated. 5 years that changed everything. The galaxy that had once seemed full of masters and slaves now looked different. It looked like opportunity. "Mr. President, the delegates are ready," his aide informed him. Charles nodded. Today, representatives from 12 worlds would meet under Earth's protection. 12 worlds that had heard about humanity's victory and dared to dream of their own freedom. Dr. Nancy Kim had revolutionized space travel. Her FTL drives, powered by human neural interfaces, could be modified for other species. Each race required different adjustments, but the principle remained the same. Freedom from the quantum network. Independence from the Council. "The beauty is that each species makes it their own," Nancy explained to the gathered scientists. "The Altarians use harmonics. The Rigellans use color patterns. Every free mind finds its own path through space." She had traveled to 30 worlds in the past 2 years, teaching the technology to anyone willing to learn. Each successful implementation was another nail in the Council's coffin. The quantum network that had bound the galaxy for millennia was becoming obsolete. Ambassador Ryan Cooper prepared for another difficult negotiation. The Council had sent envoys trying to convince Earth to rejoin the network. They offered better terms, more autonomy, even a seat on the ruling committee. Ryan's job was to smile, listen, and politely refuse. "You don't understand what you're doing," the Council envoy, a crystalline being named Sharlock, insisted. "The network maintains order. Without it, the galaxy will descend into chaos." "Or into freedom," Ryan replied. "Order built on slavery isn't worth preserving. You speak of slavery, but we provided security. Medical care, technology, purpose," Ryan leaned forward. "You provided chains. Comfortable chains maybe, but still chains. The galaxy is learning they don't need you anymore. The real revolution wasn't military. It was psychological. On world after world, species that had served the Council for centuries realized they had a choice. The humans had proven it was possible to survive, even thrive, without the network. On Kepler 442b, the Vorthak had been mining dilithium for the Council for 800 years. When human traders arrived with news of the severing and offers to teach the technology, the Vorthak listened. Within months, they had cut their world from the network and declared independence. On Gliese 667c, the aquatic Nabari had been forced to harvest their ocean's resources until their world was dying. Earth's environmental restoration technology, freely shared, helped them reclaim their seas. They severed from the network with songs of joy that lasted for days. Each liberation followed a pattern. Earth's ships would arrive not as conquerors but as teachers. They shared technology, knowledge, and most importantly, proof that the Council could be defied. Then they left, letting each world choose its own path. Not all were successful. On some worlds, Council loyalists fought back. On others, the population was too afraid to change. But more succeeded than failed, and each success inspired others. The Council's response evolved from military to political. They tried to paint humans as anarchists, destroying the peaceful order of the galaxy. They warned of economic collapse, technological regression, and interstellar war. Some worlds listened, but others noticed something interesting. The free worlds weren't collapsing. They were thriving. Without the Council taking their resources, they grew prosperous. Without quantum network restrictions, they innovated. Trade flourished between free worlds, creating new alliances based on mutual benefit rather than enforced hierarchy. President Mason addressed the growing alliance of free worlds. We don't seek to rule. We don't demand tribute or loyalty. We offer something simpler: choice. The choice to determine your own destiny, to keep your own resources, to develop your own technology, to be free. The human approach to governance shocked the galaxy. Instead of creating a new hierarchy, Earth promoted a loose confederation. Worlds could join or leave freely. Decisions were made by consensus, not decree. It was messy, inefficient, and absolutely revolutionary. On the Council homeworld, panic was setting in. Half their territory had declared independence. Their quantum network, once spanning the galaxy, now covered less than 300 worlds. Worst of all, they were discovering what Earth had learned. Their technology didn't work well without the network. Supreme Coordinator Zexnal convened an emergency session. The humans are a contagion. They spread disorder wherever they go. Or perhaps, suggested a younger council member, they spread truth. Our empire was built on a lie. That species needed us to survive. The humans have proven otherwise. The suggestion was heretical. The speaker was removed from the chamber. But the doubt had been voiced. Even among the council, some began to question. Dr. Nancy Kim's greatest achievement came in the 4th year. Working with scientists from dozens of species, she developed universal translation technology that worked without the quantum network. Now species could communicate freely without council monitoring or control. Language is freedom, Nancy said at the technology's launch. When people can speak directly without intermediaries, they find common ground. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Trade negotiations that once required council mediators now happened directly. Cultural exchanges flourished. Art, music, and literature flowed between worlds without censorship. The council's monopoly on communication crumbled overnight. But the real change was generational. Young beings across the galaxy grew up hearing stories of Earth's defiance. They learned that the council's rule wasn't inevitable. They dreamed of freedom and worked to achieve it. On Earth, schools taught alien languages and cultures. Human children played with toys based on alien designs. Restaurants served food from 100 worlds. Earth had become truly cosmopolitan, not through conquest but through connection. Captain Joe Baker, now Admiral Baker, commanded humanity's first joint species crew. His ship included Vorthak engineers, Nabari navigators, and a dozen other species. They worked together not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. The council never understood, Joe told his mixed crew. Diversity isn't weakness. It's strength. Each of you brings something unique. Together we're unstoppable. His words proved prophetic when pirates, taking advantage of the changing order, attacked a convoy of refugee ships. The joint crew's response was swift and decisive. Each species contributed their strengths, creating tactics no single species crew could have managed. The fifth year brought unexpected visitors. A ship appeared at Earth's edge, using technology no one recognized. It broadcast a simple message. "We are species 2411. We have been waiting." The beings that emerged looked nothing like any known species. They had evolved beyond physical form, existing as energy patterns that could take any shape. They had spent centuries in another dimension watching, waiting for another species to achieve the severing. "You have done more than we ever did," their representative said to President Mason. "We cut ourselves off and hid. You cut yourselves off and led. The galaxy is transforming because of your courage." They shared their advanced knowledge freely, accelerating Earth's technological development by centuries. But more importantly, they shared wisdom: how to maintain freedom, how to resist the temptation of empire, how to lead without ruling. The Council made one last desperate attempt. They offered to dissolve themselves, to turn over all their technology and resources if only the galaxy would return to the network. They warned of coming threats from outside the galaxy that only united quantum defense could stop. Ryan Cooper delivered Earth's response. "If threats come, we'll face them together. As equals, as free beings choosing to cooperate, not as slaves bound by quantum chains." The transformation was nearly complete. The Galactic Council, which had ruled for millennia, controlled only their core worlds. The alliance of free worlds grew daily, bound not by force but by shared values and mutual benefit. President Mason's final address to the galaxy was broadcast on the new free communication network. 5 years ago, Earth stood alone against an empire. Today we stand with hundreds of free worlds. This is not the end of order. It's the beginning of true civilization, one based on choice, cooperation, and respect. The Council asked us once what humans could contribute to the galaxy. Now we know. We contributed the most dangerous idea in the universe. The idea that every being, every world, every species has the right to be free. That idea has spread beyond stopping. To those still under Council control, know this: Earth's hand is extended in friendship. Our technology is available to all. Freedom is not just possible, it's inevitable. The galaxy will never be the same. The stars looked different now, not cold and hostile, but full of friends, allies, and infinite possibility. Humanity had not just saved itself, it had transformed the galaxy. And the adventure was just beginning. The Council homeworld had never been visited by outsiders. For 10,000 years, Xerion Prime stood as the untouchable center of galactic power. Its crystal spires reached into space, its quantum generators hummed with the power of 800 enslaved worlds. Now, only 43 worlds remained under Council control, and fear gripped the ancient capital. Admiral Karen White stood on the bridge of the ESS Liberation, humanity's flagship. Around her, a fleet unlike any in galactic history assembled, 400 ships from 60 different species, all flying under the banner of the Free Worlds Alliance, not coming as conquerors but as liberators. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her communication officer announced. The voice belonged to a Vorthak, his crystalline form shimmering with excitement. Karen nodded. "Send the message." Across space, President Charles Mason's words reached the Council homeworld. "Citizens of Xerion Prime and all remaining Council worlds, we come not in vengeance but in hope. The age of the Galactic Council has ended. The age of freedom has begun. We invite you to join us not as subjects or slaves, but as equals." On Xerion Prime, Supreme Coordinator Zexanol listened to the message with his inner circle. Half wanted to fight to the last. The other half, led by younger members who had never known true power, argued for negotiation. "They offer us nothing but dissolution," Zexanol said bitterly. "The end of everything we built." "Everything we built on the backs of others," countered Velmar, the youngest coordinator. "Perhaps it's time we learned to stand on our own." The debate raged for hours. Meanwhile, something unprecedented happened in the streets of Xerion Prime. Citizens who had lived their entire lives sustained by tribute from subject worlds began to question. If humans could survive without slaves, if Vorthak could thrive in freedom, why not Xerions? Dr. Nancy Kim led the scientific delegation. Her team included representatives from every freed world, each carrying proof of what freedom had achieved. New technologies, medical breakthroughs, artistic achievements, all created in just 5 years without council oversight. The network made us lazy, Nancy explained to a gathering of Xerian scientists. When you can take what you need from others, why innovate? But look what happens when people must create for themselves. She demonstrated Earth's latest breakthrough, matter conversion technology that could transform any element into any other. No more need to strip mine worlds for rare minerals.
No more resource wars.
Abundance for all if they were willing to work for it. The younger Xerion scientists were fascinated. They had been taught that without the quantum network, civilization would collapse. Yet here was proof of the opposite. Free minds had achieved in 5 years what the Council hadn't in centuries. On the military front, Admiral Baker led demonstration flights. His mixed-species crews performed maneuvers that Council doctrine said were impossible. Pilots from different worlds thinking in different ways, creating unpredictable, unbeatable tactics. We don't fight as a collective, Joe explained to Xerion military observers. We fight as individuals choosing to work together. That makes us stronger, not weaker. The real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Deep in Xerion Prime's archives, Ambassador Ryan Cooper and his team discovered historical records that the Council had hidden for millennia. The truth about their origins. The Xerians hadn't always been conquerors. 10,000 years ago they had been explorers, scientists, artists. The quantum network had been created not for control, but for communication. Only over time had it been corrupted into a tool of empire. Your ancestors would be horrified, Ryan told the Council during a public broadcast. They dreamed of connecting the galaxy, not enslaving it. We're not asking you to abandon your heritage. We're asking you to reclaim it. The revelation shook Xerion society. Protests began in the Crystal Spires. Citizens demanded access to the hidden archives. They wanted to know their true history, not the propaganda they'd been fed. On the other Council worlds, similar scenes played out. The Mantid of Proxima B, who had been the Council's enforcers for centuries, discovered they had once been poets and philosophers. The Draconi of Wolf 359, feared across the galaxy as Council admirals, learned their ancestors had been pacifists forced into military service. Each revelation weakened the Council's grip. Not through force, but through truth. The Empire hadn't just enslaved other species. It had enslaved its own members, trapping them in roles that betrayed their nature. Captain Lisa Wong, commanding a humanitarian fleet, approached the poorest Council worlds. These were the species who benefited least from the Empire, but were too afraid to leave. She brought food, medicine, and teachers. We're not here to judge, Lisa told the frightened populations. We're here to help. Freedom is scary, but you don't have to face it alone. World by world, the Council's periphery crumbled. Not through combat, but through compassion. Each liberated world received immediate aid, proving that the Free Worlds Alliance truly was different from the Council. The tipping point came when Velmar, the young coordinator, did the unthinkable. He publicly severed his personal connection to the quantum network. The act was broadcast across Xerion Prime, showing a Council member choosing freedom over power. I feel different, Velmar said, wonder in his voice. Like I'm thinking my own thoughts for the first time. The network wasn't connecting us. It was controlling us. Within hours, thousands of Xerians followed his example. The quantum generators began to shut down as fewer minds remained connected. The empire that had lasted 10,000 years was ending not with a bang, but with a whisper. Zexnal made one last desperate attempt. He activated ancient weapons, planet killers that had been hidden for millennia. But when he tried to fire them through the network, nothing happened. The weapons required multiple Council minds to activate, and he was alone. President Mason personally traveled to Xerion Prime for the final negotiation. He met Zexnal in the Council chamber where so many worlds' fates had been decided. The old Xerion looked broken, defeated. You've destroyed everything, Zexnal accused. No, Charles replied gently. We've freed everything, including you. You've carried the burden of empire for too long. Let it go. What will become of us? Without the tribute, without the network, how will we survive? Charles smiled. The same way humans did. The same way every free species does. By working, learning, growing. It won't be easy, but it will be yours. The formal dissolution of the Galactic Council happened on the 5th anniversary of Earth's severing. Representatives from every world, Former rulers and formerly enslaved alike gathered on neutral ground, a space station built cooperatively by all species. The treaty was simple. All remaining quantum network technology would be destroyed. All species would be recognized as sovereign. The Free Worlds Alliance would provide aid to any world that needed it, regardless of their past role. No retribution, no reparations. Just a clean start. Zexanol was the last to sign. His hand shook as he made the mark that ended 10,000 years of council rule. But as he did, something strange happened. He smiled. For the first time in his long life, he was free of the network's whispers, free of the burden of empire. "What will you do now?" Charles asked him. "I think," Zexanol said slowly, "I will learn to paint. I always wanted to, but the network said it was inefficient." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Former oppressors and oppressed worked side by side, rebuilding worlds, sharing knowledge, creating art. It wasn't perfect. Some conflicts arose. Some species struggled with freedom. But they were free to struggle, free to fail, free to succeed on their own terms. Dr. Nancy Kim established the Galactic University, where all species could come to learn and teach. The campus spread across 12 planets, connected by her FTL technology. Students from every corner of the galaxy studied together, their diversity creating innovations no single species could achieve. Admiral White retired from military service, converting her warships into exploration vessels. "We've been so focused on controlling the galaxy," she said. "We forgot to discover it. There's so much out there we don't know." Ambassador Cooper founded the Mediation Corps, helping species resolve conflicts without violence. The galaxy had known only council law for so long. They had to learn how to govern themselves. It was messy, complicated, and beautiful. On Earth, children grew up in a galaxy of infinite possibility. They could travel to any world, learn from any species, become anything they dreamed. The planet that had once been marked for enslavement had become the symbol of freedom. President Mason gave his final speech before stepping down, as Earth's constitution demanded. "When the council came to Earth, they told us we were nothing special, just another resource to be harvested. They were wrong about many things, but they were most wrong about that. Humans are special, not because we're superior, but because we're stubborn. Too stubborn to accept slavery, too stubborn to give up when facing impossible odds, too stubborn to rule when we could lead instead. But we learned something. Every species is special in their own way. The Vorthak's precision, the Nabari's harmony, the Zerian's organization. Even our former enemies had gifts. The Council's crime wasn't just enslaving bodies. It was wasting potential. Today, the galaxy is free, not because of human might, but because of a simple human idea. That freedom is the right of all sentient beings." "That idea spread, Becca?"